So today we're going to be cooking this recipe I came up with myself. This Wagyu beef burgers with some bacon on top. We're going to do the bacon in the oven instead of in a pan. A little bit different from the way most people do it. We're going to be basting the burgers. It's something a lot of people don't know how to do. They're basting it in a cast iron skillet. Wear something to protect yourself. Wash your damn hands because we touch so many things throughout the day and we just completely overlook the fact that all that's covered in bacteria. Now, cover your hair. Like, if you have hair that's like longer than an inch, that can just easily fall right in the food. Like, I see this on cooking shows, like on the Food Network, people with long ass hair and it's just dangling into the soup. So starting off, I'm down here with my cutting board and I have all my other stuff off to the side that you can't see, but I've got good sharp kitchen knife there. So what I'm going to do first is chop up some onions. Look at that, we got a real rough chop pretty quickly. I'm going to do just make sure I get up all those big pieces because the patties will fall apart if the onion pieces are too big. Now, that's about all the onion that I need, but I'm going to fucking weigh it because I want to be sure. Get it over here. Just so you can see me doing it. Why not? Get it on camera. That scale's clean. Use it to touch the onions. Alright. So what do we got here? I'm actually a little short. Okay, so that's about 2.5 ounces of onions. I'm going to want to go get a little bit more. I got a big glass bowl here. I'm going to take this big glass bowl, and this is going to be what we're going to use to mix the meat. Dump the onions right in there. And then over off on the side. Got the scale again. Use the same container. Because you're not going to cross-contaminate by putting raw onions with cheese. That's fine. Alright, so we're going to want to weigh out about, again, 4 ounces of cheese. That's 4 ounces perfectly. And dump it off on the side into that big glass bowl with the onions in it. So here what I've done here, I've diced some green onions at an angle. You can see that there. Alright, for this next part, I'm going to toss on some gloves because we're working with raw meat. You don't have to do that, but it would be smart to do so. Yeah. Right now we're going to be working, this is the star of the dish right here. This is some Wagyu beef, ground Wagyu. I'm going to go drain this meat of all the excess blood. Now that the beef has been drained of blood, we're going to pop that in the glass bowl with the cheese and our onions. Just go to town mixing it. You really want to get your hands in there and work your meat. At some point while you're mixing all your meat together, you're going to want to season it. That step is really crucial. So what I do for seasoning, I'm going to add one of my secret ingredients that I always have. It's not really a secret because it is just garlic salt with a little parsley added. If you don't have that, you can do half a tablespoon of regular salt and a half a tablespoon of garlic powder. You don't want to use raw garlic because it will burn. Next we're going to do a little soy sauce. I only want a teaspoon of soy sauce in there because it's like we're already putting in a tablespoon of garlic salt. Next we're going to do a little bit of that wash your sister sauce. I already said we're doing a tablespoon of it. Yeah, we're doing a tablespoon of that stuff because that really will give it a wonderful flavor. You also want to be careful when you're doing this. Like, you want to mix it to the point where everything is incorporated, but once you have everything evenly mixed, you don't want to mix it any more than that because you're going to make patties kind of tough. Alright, so what we're going to do next, I'm going to come over here off to the side, turn on my scale. I'm going to weigh out 1/4 pound patties. Yep, and that's right at 4 ounces off on the scale. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the patty and you kind of smash it between your hands, but you're going to press it into a nice disc. And you want it to be really flat. And honestly, you want it to be as wide as you can possibly make it. Like, wider than you want it to be when it's done cooking, because it'll shrink. About like half an inch wider than the buns you're using. I'm using like these small little slider buns, so I'm going to get like a... Over off on the side, I have a plate with some parchment paper on it. Parchment paper is going to help the patties from sticking to each other and from sticking to the plate. want to do, we can do 6 of these with 1.5 pounds of material. One thing I like to do when I'm making these is I kind of do it like a meatball when you roll it and then press it. Like, let me step back, kind of roll it and then press it flatly between your hands like that. And you're not pressing it all the way out because then it'll crack on the sides. You don't want that. You want the sides to be smooth and even because, again, cracked sides, patty falls apart. There we go. It's a plate of burger patties. Now, you're going to want to cook these right away or wrap them in plastic because this is raw beef. Alright, now we're going to start playing with the bacon. What you want to do, get some tin foil, line a baking sheet, some tin foil. If you got something with high sides, that would be good because we're going to want to keep the fat from the bacon as it cooks. You want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. That's what we're going to be cooking the bacon at. Now, let's take a knife. It's the same knife I use to cut the vegetables. Now, you don't have to cut the bacon in half, but I do because it cooks a little better that way. And it makes your life easier later on when you want to take the bacon and put it on the burgers. All right, yeah, so we're just going to take the bacon. Make sure you get this cardboard and any plastic off of it. And just line the sheet tray with the bacon. And you're going to bake that at 400 degrees for 18 minutes. I have thick cut bacon here. You want to use a thick cut. Alright, so just line it as best you can. The bacon can be overlapping a little bit, but you want to make sure that most of the bacon's exposed so that it cooks evenly in the oven. Alright, so the timer for the bacon just went up. Pull that out the oven. Ooh, wow. It's looking good. It's not quite done yet. We're not done baking it. So what I'm going to do now is put a little bit of aromatic bitters on there. For this recipe, I usually like to use a mixture of Amaretto mixed with aromatic bitters. I don't have any Amaretto. I'm just going to use the aromatic. It'll work just fine. The best flavor is with those two mixed, is my opinion. And if you don't have access to alcohol, or you don't feel comfortable cooking with it, or whatever reason you don't want to use the Amaretto and aromatic, you can do a similar trick. Just some honey, black pepper, but it won't taste the same. So what we're going to do, we're going to pop this back in the oven for another 6 minutes. Let all of that alcohol caramelize on top of the bacon. See you in a minute. Alright, second time for the bacon's about to go off. So here's what we want to do. If you have one of these, this is a resting rack. Set it off to the side of your stove. You got the counter space for it. Put some paper towels under it to catch the grease. We're going to put the bacon on the resting rack. If you don't have one of these, just put some paper towels on a plate. But the resting rack is preferred. Now, let's check and see how it is. Timer just went off. Oh, there we go. Now it's done. Now both sides got that caramelization on them. That's what we want. Real easy trick to scoop this up with the tongs. You just get a whole row of bacon with one scoop. Set those down. Alright, now very carefully. I got a measuring cup over there. Measuring cup is good because it has a mouth on it. You want something with a lip. So I'm going to take this very carefully because this is like searing hot grease. Just let all this excess grease drain off the pan into this measuring cup. Let it sit on your resting rack or your plate with the paper towels. Let it soak up that excess grease. Then we're going to put it in the fridge because I ain't cooking these till a little bit later. Now, if you plan on cooking your burgers right after the bacon's done, you don't need to refrigerate the bacon because it's only going to take about 15 minutes to cook the burgers. But I ain't cooking these till later today. So for safety, in a nice safe container, put it in the fridge. Save this bacon grease because this is what we're going to use to cook the burgers. We're going to put this in a cast iron skillet. This is what we're going to use to fry the patties. So make sure you do not dump this out. Alright, here's where the fun begins. This is where we cook the burgers. Now this is actually going to go really fucking fast. You're going to get the cast iron pan on the stove nice and hot. Wasn't ready to cook those just yet. So put this fat in the pan. I'm gonna pop some more gloves on. Some touch of raw meat. Oil in the pan is smoking. We're ready to start cooking. Make sure you always preheat before you put anything in there. Now, when you're setting the meat down, make sure you set it away from you and set it down very carefully so it doesn't splash all the grease in your face. I'm going to turn the heat down now to about medium. Do it a minute and a half on each side. They've already been in there for about 15 seconds. Now, as these are cooking, we're going to baste them. So when you're basting them, you want to make sure you get like the hot bubbling grease and like you're just pouring it right over. Alright, after a minute, we're going to flip them. We're going to do a minute 45 on this other side. Because these burgers are a mixture of like onions and cheese and that Wagyu beef, you can't do a rare or a medium rare, no blood. You gotta do it well done. So if you don't like your burgers like that, sorry. But just for food safety. Break out some cheese, a couple pieces of that bacon that we cooked earlier. So I got a bottle of water here and a lid of the pan. Gonna put some of that in there, put the lid on. Now that water is gonna steam, it's gonna melt the cheese, and it's gonna reheat the bacon and gives a little bit more moisture to it. Do that for about 30 seconds. Pop that lid off, it's gonna look like that. Once the cheese is all melted and the bacon's all steamed. I'll put it back over here on my resting rack. I have that paper towels on. Again, if you don't have one of those, just use a plate, some paper towels. And we're gonna cook the other 3 burgers. Begin here. Alright, while the burgers are resting, real quick, we're going to prep the buns. Get yourself a nice barbecue sauce or something spicy. Like I got this, it's a stub spicy. You don't have to have that. Any spicy barbecue sauce will work, or like a spicy mustard. You don't want to do anything sweet like ketchup or honey mustard, and you also don't want to do any mayo. The amount of fat on these things, you definitely don't want to do mayo. Just asking for a heart attack. And anything sweet is going to detract from the other flavors. Like the bacon already has its own sweetness. You don't want to overpower that or detract from that with a sweet sauce. But the spice. Alright, I got those green onions that I chopped up earlier. Pop this open. Just put a few on. I don't like press them down into the sauce, that way they stick. Alright, put your burgers on the bottom halves. I use 2 plates for these just because there's 6 burgers. Put the bottom buns on one plate, the top buns on another. You don't have to do it that way, but it'll make your life easier. And now we just put the top buns on top. There we go. If you want to try making it for yourself, give it a shot. Remember, a list of all the ingredients, tools, and materials will be listed in the description. That way you can actually cook this for yourself, because I didn't actually tell you what everything was at the beginning. And yeah, have fun making it.